Ida Saxton was born in Canton, Ohio, as the eldest child of James Saxton, a prominent banker, and Catherine DeWalt. The Saxton family, one of the early pioneers in Canton, was notably wealthy. James Saxton's success in banking made him the second richest man in the city. Ida, along with her younger siblings, Mary and George, grew up in the Grand Saxton house. While little is documented about her early childhood, she formed strong lifelong bonds with her mother and grandmother, Christiana DeWalt. These relationships likely shaped her belief in the importance of close family connections across generations, particularly for women. During the American Civil War, her mother led volunteer efforts to provide supplies and sew uniforms for the Union Army, and Ida assisted her mother with these tasks during her school breaks. Ida Saxton's parents were strong advocates for abolitionism and equal education for women. Her father, James Saxton, served on the board of trustees for Canton's public schools and appointed Betsy Mix Cowles, a notable abolitionist and suffragette, as the principal of Canton Union School. Cowles became a mentor to Ida during her time as a student there. In 1862, when Cowles moved to Delphi Academy in Clinton County, New York, Ida followed, making it her first experience at a boarding school. At Delphi, she studied accounting and finance, but both Cowles and Ida eventually left due to the school's Confederate sympathies. Ida continued her education at the Sanford School in Cleveland, Ohio, from 1863 to 1865, excelling academically and earning praises as an apt learner and a gifted scholar. From 1865 to 1868, Ida attended finishing school at the Brook Hall Female Seminary, where she studied singing, piano, languages, and needlepoint, skills intended to prepare her for her role as a household hostess. In her free time, she frequently visited Philadelphia to enjoy opera, classical concerts, and theatrical performances. Ida formed lasting friendships with both her classmates and teachers at Brook Hall, including Harriet Galt. Galt, an advocate for physical fitness, encouraged Ida to take daily walks, inspiring a lifelong interest in physical activity at a time when this was considered progressive for women. After Ida Saxton graduated from finishing school in 1868, her father encouraged her to participate in an acting performance to help raise funds for the new Presbyterian Church. That March, she performed in tableaux at Schaeffer's Opera House, portraying scenes from American and European history. The event attracted a crowd of 1,200 people, and Saxton was named the Best Actress of the night. In addition to her brief acting experience, Saxton worked as a clerk at her father's Stark County Bank, and later took on the role of cashier, managing the bank in her father's absence. Her position was controversial, as many of her male colleagues felt she was overeducated for the job, but Saxton defended her role, believing her father wanted her to be financially independent, regardless of marriage. Aside from the time she spent traveling, Saxton worked at the bank until she married William McKinley in 1871. When not working or traveling, she also taught Sunday school at the First Presbyterian Church, which her grandfather, John Saxton, helped establish. From June to December 1869, Ida and her younger sister Mary embarked on a grand tour of Europe, chaperoned by Janet Alexander. The trip, which they used to complete their education, took them to Ireland, Scotland, England, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Belgium, France, Germany, and Italy. During their travels, Ida visited numerous art museums and met notable figures such as sculptor Vinnie Ream, who later became famous for her statue of Abraham Lincoln. In Amsterdam, she encountered Charles Feller, a limbless painter who created art using his mouth, an example that would later inspire her to live a full public life despite the disabilities she would face. When in Italy, Ida and Mary had the opportunity to meet Pope Pius IX. Though Ida was critical of Roman Catholicism, believing its rituals to be excessive, she showed respect by bowing before the Pope and kissing his hand, finding him to be such a nice old man. During the trip, the sisters maintained their physical fitness by hiking daily, even trekking through the Swiss Alps. Saxton's travels broadened her worldview, particularly regarding the struggles of the working class. While in Belgium, she witnessed lace workers toiling in poor conditions for minimal pay, which moved her to purchase a significant amount of their lace. This experience inspired her to spend a lifetime collecting Belgian lace as a way to support the artisans. While working at Stark County Bank, Ida Saxton met William McKinley for the first time in 1868 at a picnic at Myers Lake, Ohio, near Canton. McKinley, who was visiting his sister Anna, became acquainted with Saxton during the event. At the time, Saxton was engaged to John Wright, a Confederate Army veteran, but Wright tragically died of brain inflammation, likely meningitis, while Ida was traveling in Europe. Upon her return from the Grand Tour, Ida received several marriage proposals, but declined them all. In 1870, McKinley began seriously courting Saxton after he introduced her to journalist and politician Horace Greeley at a lecture. Although she was seeing other suitors at the time, she was impressed by McKinley's strong moral character. Their relationship grew as they frequently interacted during bank transactions, social visits with friends, and while traveling to teach Sunday school at their respected churches, Ida's Presbyterian and McKinley's Methodist. McKinley also acted as the Saxton's family's legal representative, successfully winning claims on their behalf. Although Ida's father encouraged her to pursue McKinley, she maintained that her decision to accept his marriage proposal was entirely her own. On January 25, 1871, Ida Saxton, 23, married William McKinley, 27, in a joint Methodist-Presbyterian ceremony at the newly built First Presbyterian Church in Canton. The service, performed by Reverend E. Buckingham and the Reverend Dr. Ensley, was attended by 1,000 people, as Ida was regarded as the belle of Canton. After the wedding, the couple attended a reception at Ida's parents' home before quietly departing for their honeymoon in New York. After their honeymoon, William and Ida McKinley returned to Canton and lived for a time in the St. Cloud Hotel until Ida's father purchased a small house for them at North Market and Elizabeth Street. The first 2 years of marriage were reportedly happy, with Ida affectionately calling William Major in public and Dearest in private. On Christmas Day, 1871, their first child, Katie, was born while William was still working as a lawyer. Katie quickly became the center of their world, adored by her parents and showered with love. Ida doted on her, commissioning both photographs and an oil painting of her daughter. Following Katie's birth, Ida resumed her active social life and made many public appearances alongside William. She also joined his Methodist church, and Katie was baptized. Shortly after, Ida became pregnant again, but this time her joy was tempered by tragedy. Her mother, who had been battling cancer, passed away on March 20th, just weeks before Ida gave birth to her second daughter. While attending her mother's burial, Ida suffered a fall while stepping in or out of a carriage, injuring her head, a trauma that likely contributed to the onset of epilepsy and phlebitis. In the spring of 1873, after a difficult delivery, Ida gave birth to a frail infant, also named Ida. The baby, however, died just 4 months later on August 20th from cholera. Historian Carl Ferrazza Anthony speculates that Ida may have become immunocompromised during her pregnancy, which contributed to her second child's poor health. Devastated by the loss of her infant daughter, Ida became grief-stricken, believing she was being punished by God. This fear extended to Katie, as Ida became terrified of losing her as well. Overwhelmed by her emotional and physical ailments, her ability to walk was impaired, and she lost strength in her dominant hand. Ida then retreated from public life. Dr. Whitney, her father's physician, prescribed complete rest, and the McKinleys moved into the Saxton house for 6 months. During this time, Ida's sister Mary took over the care of Katie, while Ida often sat in a darkened room, holding and weeping over her daughter, unable to let her out of her sight unless William took Katie for a drive. Katie's death in June of 1875 from heart disease further plunged Ida into despair. She became severely depressed, eating very little and suffering from worsening seizures. Ida prayed for her own death, and William, deeply concerned for her well-being, offered to abandon his political career if it would help her. Desperate to keep Ida engaged with life, he tried everything to lift her spirits. Ida commissioned a painting of William and placed it across from her bed, clinging to him for emotional support. Ida's faith was profoundly shaken, and she stopped attending church, feeling abandoned by God. In the early 1890s, she became interested in reincarnation and Eastern religions after attending a lecture on the subject, hoping she might one day reunite with her daughters. When she saw little girls, she would stare at them intently, wondering if one of her children had returned. Ida also preserved the memory of her children by hanging Katie's picture on her wall and keeping her clothes and rocking chair as cherished mementos. Devastated by the loss of her mother and 2 young daughters in a short span, Mrs. McKinley suffered a breakdown and developed epilepsy, becoming heavily reliant on her husband. Her seizures sometimes occurred in public, including one at William McKinley's inaugural ball as governor of Ohio. Despite battling her illness for the rest of her life, she found solace in crocheting slippers, a hobby that kept her occupied. She crafted thousands of pairs, which she gifted to friends, acquaintances, and charities, some of which auctioned the slippers for a large sum. To manage her condition, she frequently took barbiturates, laudanum, and other common sedatives of the time. McKinley, now president, went to great lengths to accommodate his wife's condition. Breaking with tradition, he ensured that she sat next to him at state dinners rather than the opposite end of the table. During receiving lines, Miss McKinley remained seated, a rare exception for a First Lady. Many of her social duties were taken on by Mrs. Jeannie Tuttle Hobart, the wife of Vice President Garrett Hobart. Observers noted that when Mrs. McKinley was about to experience a seizure, the president would gently cover her face with a napkin or handkerchief to shield her contorted expressions. Once the seizure passed, he would remove it and continue as if nothing had happened. The First Lady frequently traveled with President McKinley. In May of 1901, she accompanied him on a trip to California, but became severely ill in San Francisco, leading to the cancellation of their planned tour of the Northwest. In September of that year, she also traveled with him to Buffalo, New York, though she was not present when he was assassinated. On September 6, 1901, President McKinley was shot in the abdomen by a 28-year-old anarchist, Leon Zolgost. Despite efforts by doctors, the bullet could not be located, and the wound became infected with gangrene. 8 days later, at the age of 58, President McKinley passed away. 3 years before her husband's assassination, Ida McKinley's only brother, George DeWalt Saxton, was murdered in 1898. After the assassination of her husband, President McKinley, in Buffalo, New York, in September of 1901, Mrs. McKinley lost much of her will to live. Though she remained composed during the days between the shooting and his death, she was unable to attend his funeral. Her health rapidly declined as she retreated to her home in Canton, where she was cared for by her younger sister. The president was temporarily interred in the Wirtz Receiving Vault at West Lawn Cemetery while his memorial was being constructed, and Ida visited his resting place daily until her own death. She survived her husband by less than 6 years, passing away on May 26, 1907, at the age of 59. Ida was buried beside him and their 2 daughters in the McKinley Memorial Mausoleum in Canton.